Howdy, folks. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. We're back. Eck should be back tomorrow, so we'll probably do a show tomorrow around 3 p.m. Hopefully
Okay.
get back to in the regular swing of things on Thursday and
You gotta
Friday.
move up. You look too big. All right, go ahead. Yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
Yeah, no, I have to do there you go. Now my chair is like down on the ground basically. I'm sitting in that bean chair that Eck almost like fell off
Oh,
and broke
that's
his
still
neck.
one of the all-time great moments.
I wish I could find that. I'm sure probably somebody's got it out there. But let's
Yeah.
start with the pre-show. Go ahead, Russ.
So, I saw a long form interview with Adam Silver and Stephen A. Smith on ESPN, and I found it interesting on a couple levels. The first one was, and this was like one of the last questions. You know how like when they do a last question, they knew it was the most important question, but they didn't want to like lead with that. And that was about James Harden. And they said, well, not specifically James Harden, but what do you think about players that are trying to get out of contracts and stuff? And Adam Silver acted like this has been happening for years, but it really hasn't. And the fact that Harden is not at Sixers camp now is really bad. And I think Silver should step in. And I don't know why he's not. And I think the longer he doesn't, the more he just gives power to those players.
Yeah, James Harden is a disgusting human being in the sense that, he's not a bad human being in terms of
No.
bad things, but he gets fat when he's with Houston to get out of being with the Rockets. He gets traded to New Jersey. He forces his way out of there apparently because he didn't like sharing the ball with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Now he's in Philadelphia. Now he's pissing and moaning and he wants to get out. I mean, honestly,
show up for work, and if they trade you, they trade you, and if not, do your job.
Why any NBA team pays this creep?
Oh, I know.
It's like you're giving him $35 million or $40 million for what? The pleasure of being just being in misery?
He's in Houston. He's probably at Whataburger every day.
Yeah, but that's the thing that's ridiculous. He wanted to get out of Houston 3 years ago. Now he wants to go back to Houston. Why? Because he wants to because they suck. There's no expectations there, and he can make money.
I know. It's a crazy thing. The other thing, though, that struck me, and to answer Michael Cohen, he says the Hockey Buzz site needs a new server. Why don't you buy it? You've got all this extra money now. So anyhow, talking about the other thing about Andrew Silver, what he did do that was good was he really pushed the WNBA playoffs and talked about it at length. And again, this is something where I feel like the NHL, other than letting some of the women's hockey players into the All-Star game or whatever, I still don't feel like they've given them enough of a platform, right? And the NBA is really stepping up now with the WNBA, but I also think they see potential rewards there, Mike. Because as an example, we've been seeing that there are some big women's events that have been selling out. Did you see in Iowa that they sold out a volleyball game in the football stadium? They played it outdoors, 55,000 people. Sold out.
55.
Yeah.
Wasn't there something in Michigan that it was like I don't know if it was
there was something, I forget what sport it was. Well, that's what I'm saying. So I think the NBA is smart enough to see that these potential gains are on the horizon because there's a lot of female sports fans out there, especially younger fans that really maybe not be a fan of any sport yet and are just becoming fans. And I think that's something that would be a good place for the NHL to kind of give that extra push to the new league. But they don't seem to want to do it right now.
See, I don't understand because they did say, and I don't know if it's Gary Bettman or Bill Daly, they did say that when the war between the PHWA and the I can't even remember, it's like alphabet soup, the two leagues.
Yes.
When if it was finally over, that they would provide some backing or some support. And really, they haven't. I mean, it's then this group with Billie Jean King, and I
give Billie Jean King great credit. Like, I've met her; she is legit. She will do everything in her power to push that. But the league can do more. It's no
Right.
offense.
No, I give her a ton of credit to provide, the support and backing, and there's a couple other people as well. But the league, I mean, this is there's no downside here. But
There is no downside.
The league, and we're not going to go into it today, but the league is focusing on things that aren't broke and trying to break them.
Right.
So, that's a wonderful thing for your sport to okay, one thing is working, it's fine, and now we're not going to do that anymore. Stupid. But anyway, let's start the show. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Wednesday, October 18th, 2023.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the HockeyBuzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. All right, let's start with a few things. I was at the Sabres Lightning game. Russ was at the Vancouver Philadelphia game. Apparently, I know that we talked about this before the show because they moved the game up to 6:00 because the Phillies are playing across the street. I heard somebody else say there was also some sort of soccer game at the.
Yeah, there was Mexico against somebody in a friendly. But let me tell you, if you ever wanted to have GPS be your friend, that was the day, because I'm in the parking lot and I'm like, I know most of the ways out of this place, but I don't know all of them. And so I hit my GPS and it was like, go the way you're going. And then and it had reminded me that there was this like little access road next to where the Wells Fargo is. And it takes you left away from all of the stadiums, and that you could actually still get onto the highway about 1.5 miles down the road that way. And you know what? It worked out so much better because by the time I was on the highway, I saw gridlock just from the Flyers game and maybe some people that were leaving the soccer game early. And then I can't only imagine how bad it was for the soccer game and the rest of the Phillies crowd after. So thankfully, man, that could have been an all-time traffic jam at least for me, but I figured out a way.
I mean, just imagine probably with those 3 games, there was over 100,000 people.
Oh yeah. It's incredible. Just how many people were in that area. Like there's never been a time where I've gone into a Flyers game, a night game, walked out, and there's people at the link. Usually, on a Saturday, there might be a Flyers game and Temple University, but Temple University fills up, maybe 10,000 people in the link. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was something to behold. So it was almost like Live Aid, the amount of total people,
So the Flyers and the Canucks played. It was from the score, it looks rather uneventful. 2-0 Flyers win. Just to start from before the game, because I know we talked about this, the fact that the Flyers put 3 games into the season, have healthy scratched one of their better players, and did Torts even provide any kind of reason for doing it?
Just said he didn't like his play lately. He'll evaluate all the younger players for sure. And even if they don't get – and Morgan Frost, the player you're talking about, and if, they don't get in the game, doesn't mean they're not going to get back in. So the way I kind of read it is there's a lot of veterans that are not under the same scrutiny as the younger players to be able to play in his lineup because he loves that fourth line. They're never going to change. So those guys, they would have to be really horrific to not play because he just loves that. So that's one thing. And then with Frost, listen, when the game started and they showed him on the big screen, I wasn't the only person that noticed that he had a disappointed look on his face. And you could understand why. I mean, he wants to stay with that team. He signed to be with that team. And it's been a struggle. And I think he's really done well playing wise. But the game before, sure, he had a turnover. Okay, great. So, but again, now they put Scott Lawton back at center, which is not necessarily where he wanted to be, but he'll do anything the team wants him to do. But if you keep Lawton at center, you are going to be squeezing out Morgan Frost slowly over time. And so it does make me wonder if Morgan Frost is going to get traded at some point. I do feel that way, and I'm not the only one that feels that way.
Well, I mean, here's the overall thing when it comes to the Flyers. We know they suck. We know that this is a rebuilding situation. You've got the wrong coach for that, where that team is at, rebuilding, accumulating draft picks. Torts plays a game that will earn you points. And you don't want that. You want right now, not to say you want your team to lose, but you basically you want your team to lose. You want your team to like try hard and not have a lot of
develop.
Play your young guys. They'll make mistakes like Frost made. And learn from the mistakes and improve organically. And instead, like they're 2-1 now. I mean, if I'm Danny Briere, I'm probably like, son of a bitch, this guy's winning games. It's like, I mean, if that
he's in a tough spot because, it's easy to say, well, he's the GM and he could just lay down the hammer with John Tortorella. Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. You don't think Torts has been around the block and knows how to avoid those things? Look at what Mike Babcock used to do.
With
Torts
Lou.
Right.
With Lou.
Yeah, and Torts uses the same playbook, right? So I expect to see the same thing. But like early in the year, before the year started, we were heard that, Mark Stahl's not going to play every game. There's going to be stretches where he doesn't play. So far, he's played every game and he's averaging 18 minutes. Should Mark Stahl be averaging 18 minutes on the top 4 pairing in any team in this league? No. But again, John likes him. He blocks some shots. He provides some toughness around the net, and that's good enough. So that's going to be a problem because like Yegor Zamula played great yesterday. He scored a nice goal. He's strong. He's young. He's almost in that same spot that Liljegren is currently in with Toronto. He's sort of getting into that spot, Mike. And the problem is there's no guarantee that Zamula plays next game because Torch is like, hey, I really like what he's doing. There's a couple things I'd still like better. And so that leads me to believe like, he's probably giving that opening that he's not going to play him next game. And sure enough, they had Emil Andre and Nick Seeler in practice. So like, it seems like maybe Zamula is not going to play the next game, and he got his first NHL goal. And it's like, well, how about this? If you want to play Zamula, who is a big, strong kid and can skate, and you want to play Emil Andre, who is a good young player, and you want to at least see what he's got, then rest Seeler or Stahl. What are you doing?
Yeah, because right now Torts is approaching this season like
he's going to prove everybody wrong.
Right, like I'm going to compete for a playoff spot, and then this is Toronto Maple Leafs 2007 through 2014 mode.
He just won't say it publicly. He'll say the right things as far as rebuilding and playing the young players, but you just have to look at usage and minutes, and you can figure out the rest.
I'm going to grind away with Delorier and Garnet Hathaway and play, Sanheim 27 minutes and whatever and do that. And that's counterproductive because this is a rebuilding team. I mean, the best case scenario for this team is to finish in the top 2 in the first round next year and get Celebrini or whoever else is going to be at the top of the draft and add one more player. And then that player, along with Mishkov and some of the younger other players like Farabee and whoever who are young enough to grow with this team when they're, Gauthier, to grow with this team, then you have something in a few years. This team isn't going, this team is not going anywhere. I would be surprised if they don't trade guys like Konechny
and
Carter Hart before the deadline. Maybe Frost gets traded because he doesn't fit to the plan. I mean, I
did want to mention the Canucks side though, because I do have good connections there and know people who cover the team and such. So like Demko played one of the best games of the year. If you go look at highlights, he made 2 highlight reel saves. The last one on Scott Lawton, I literally had to rub my eyes because I thought there's no way that puck can be in the net, and it wasn't. And he's a big guy, but he can make just a great rollover save. Like it's unbelievable how good he can do it. But he did 2 of them that were just fantastic. But he only gave up 2 goals, and one of them was a penalty shot. So you can't knock him. But post game, Quinn Hughes was interesting because I think he's got a good handle on being a captain. And I think they made a good decision with that because he was kind of like, listen, I told you guys it's going to take a certain amount of games for us to play the right way all the time, get it all together, and we're not there yet. But the only thing is to take and he wouldn't answer the question, and I don't blame him. He just went with, well, I'm going to go with what the ref said. But again, Mike, with the goaltender interference, that call, and I think I didn't use your name on Locked On Flyers, but I used your the way you said it to me, and I'll tell people when we had a phone conversation how you said it. You basically said you didn't think the NHL wanted to sort of set a precedent by saying that it was a good goal because then, they're going to have to kind of ease up on some of the goaltender interference. But, the argument on that play was, did Carter Hart have a chance to even make that save? Because who was it? Garland was already like just about in the crease, but wasn't quite there. But, as far as when you're supposed to be. But when he knocked in the puck, Hart was really like 3 steps away or 2 steps away from even covering it.
Right. Yeah, the puck I saw the replay. The puck was loose. He was going down to put his glove on it. It was sort of simultaneous with when Garland put his stick in the crease, and in one fell swoop as Hart is going down, Garland is pushing the puck and Hart into the goal. So what you're going to, if they had allowed that, then you're going to have every situation where the goaltender is freezing the puck, somebody going in, jamming the stick, trying to push the goalie in the net, and then having to go down that road. And what they did here is they set the precedent. You push the goalie into the net, it's going to be no goal. That's
probably what. Yeah, you're probably right. And so that definitely hurt the Canucks. And for all the speed, and they skated circles around the Flyers at times, they really couldn't put it together. But they give up too many shots. And I looked at an early shot chart. I talked about it on Sirius, and like San Jose is giving up like 40 something a game. And, the Canucks were like 6th or 7th worst. And I don't see that getting any better. So they're going to have to score a lot of goals. They're just going to have to.
Well, okay. In the game that I was at, and you have two teams, one in Buffalo, who up until last night had gone winless, 0-2 in the first 2 games. And Tampa Bay, who, I have to say, I looked at the roster that they put out there, and I'm not talking about Vasilevsky because we know Vasilevsky covers up a lot of ills.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the lineup. And I have it here, folks, right here in my formerly nicotine-stained fingers, as Rush Limbaugh used to say, and I never smoked. But, okay, top line, pretty good. Hagel, Point, and Kucherov. Second line, Tanner Jeannot, Anthony Cirelli, and Michael Esenmois. Now,
it's a little, but it's not terrible.
Michael Esenmois would be a good 3rd, 4th liner. He's on the second line. The third line, Connor Sheary, Nick Paul, and Alex Barboulay.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
And then the fourth line, Austin Watson, Luke Glendening, and Waltteri Morella, who I've never heard of before. Okay.
Rough. That's rough, man.
Now they're without Stamkos, and they're without Tyler Mott. That's, Stamkos is obviously a significant absence. It's not something long-term. But even if you insert Stamkos in there and you put Stamkos on the wing and you move Esenmois down, this is not, and defensively, Hedman, Cernak, Sergachev, and Darren Radish, and Zach Bogosian and Nick Perbix. This is not a playoff.
Why is Zach Bogosian still playing?
Well, they waived him and nobody claimed him. But this is not a playoff. Even with Vasilevsky, I don't know whether this is a playoff team.
Yeah, I don't think it is. And I'm not sure Vasilevsky gets back in time. But Cooper laid down the law. He was like, listen, this is a must win, and they didn't win.
No, but they did. They tied up the game with 7 seconds. And this is the thing from the Buffalo perspective. They outplayed Tampa. They outshot Tampa. They outchanced Tampa. Tampa had the worst of the 2 goaltenders. Jonas Johansson wasn't really responsible for the 2 goals. I mean, he was, they were good plays. Sabres had a number of opportunities. They couldn't lengthen the lead. They allowed Tampa to stick around. Hagel scored at the end of the second period. Hagel scored with 7 seconds left in regulation. They tied the game, and then Dylan Cousins, the Sabres dominated overtime, and Dylan Cousins scored in overtime, and they won the game. Right. But they allowed Tampa to stay around. Even with this roster, they allowed them to stick around. Now, again, like I said, I don't think Tampa's a playoff team, but Buffalo has lost 2 games to playoff teams, to the Islanders, Rangers. And then
how much of a struggle is it for that top line right now?
For Thompson. Well, they finally started to get off the schneid. In this game, they scored a power play goal. Skinner scored, and they had a number of chances. Thompson is right now a snake bit. He's had I'd say he's had 4 or 5 really good scoring opportunities and
Okay.
hasn't been able to score.
That
So
just happens. I mean, I'm not going to.
yeah, no, they've scored 6 goals in 3 games. This is a team that was 3rd in the NHL in goal scoring. It'll shake loose, but they've played, had Vasilevsky been healthy, they would have started the year with the 3 best goaltender against the 3 best goaltenders in the NHL. So it lightens up a little bit. They're playing Calgary. They're, in Calgary, we know Calgary is going to be challenged a little bit. Now just one thing here.
Let me ask you this. So 3 games into it, or is it 4 games into it for Benson? Right now, if you had to go with it's 3, and he's got 2 points.
Right.
What do you foresee happening with him?
I mean, he's been one of their better players. That's the thing. The problem with Benson is not his ability, and Don Granato has said frequently, like, as a young player, you would think that there are shortcomings when it comes to playing defense and being responsible two-way. And, Benson is feisty in his own end, and he steals pucks, and he's got good puck sense. So they're not concerned about that. But the roster situation, they've been fortunate to have Matthew Savoie on IR.
Okay, but Savoie aside, I mean, they can figure out what to do with him. They can.
Right. But the problem is that they can't send anybody down.
No, but if they have to send him back, then you send him back, right?
Right. I mean, but the thing is, I think he's playing good enough to not send back, but the roster considerations might cause them to send it back. Now, if they trade one of the 3 goaltenders, if they trade Comrie or Luukkonen, then maybe they could keep Benson around. But
that's another thing that I think should happen, because, look, I don't think Comrie's worth holding on to at the expense of Benson or Savoie really contributing with this team where it looks like they can. But what are we talking about here? But
right now, see, the thing is, they're not going to keep Benson around if he's a 13th or 14th forward. He's got to play.
Right.
So, if they trade one of the goaltenders, then they could activate Savoie, and then they'd have Savoie off of IR. But then they want these guys to play. It's like, the problem is that if they can't play in Buffalo, then, they're going to have to send him back to Wenatchee.
No, I get that, but like, Benson's done nothing to say that he's not going to play.
He's playing like an NHLer. He's not phased. It's not too much for him. He looks like, he fits in. It's not too big for him. He's an NHLer. It's just a question of whether, can they find a home for Victor Olofsson in the next couple weeks? Probably not, with a salary like of almost $5 million.
Yeah, I mean, that's a guy that's holding them back, and that shouldn't be. And then look, Joe's the same way. It's like, I got to play Benson over these guys. I just do.
And they played Jost in the last game, and they won, and they're going to keep him in the lineup. But, when Jack Quinn doesn't come back until December, but when he comes back, then you have another dilemma, because there's another quality forward. So,
but that's when they could send, Savoie to USA, to
World
Junior Camp,
send him to
Canada World Junior Camp, and not worry about him until past January. But I just feel like Benson should make this team, and I don't say that very often. You know that.
Yeah. And similar situation with the Leafs, where they have Fraser Minten. Now, he hasn't scored and been as impressive looking offensively as Benson. We're talking about a guy who's 19 and was a 2nd-round pick, but he had a great camp. He had a great rookie tournament. He had a great preseason, and he's played well in 3 games for the Leafs. I don't know, where this is going in terms of, they're playing him at 3rd-line center with Matthew Nyes.
Yeah.
And, it's not too big for him. He's playing responsible defensively. He seems, he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's, good on faceoffs. I just don't know whether he's ready for this. Now, maybe they're sort of spoon feeding him. They're giving him 12, 13 minutes a night, and they're seeing, I don't know if this is like, give him the 9 games and see, but I'm a little surprised. And
he doesn't have any points.
Yeah.
So if he goes through like 7 games with no points, even if he's doing those other things, I kind of have to send him back.
Yeah, and I had been in the arena, been at the arena all day, so I didn't get a chance to see this. But Jerk Ball in the chat is saying that Keefe has split up the two because he had the two rookies playing together. I mean,
Right.
honestly, Nyes has played really well. He's had opportunities he hasn't been able to cash in. I almost think he fits better playing with Tavares and playing and these are the lines that they have right now. And this is not Tyler Bertuzzi was maintenance day to day, so they had Noah Gregor playing with Matthews and Marner. That's not going to happen. But they had Nyes with Tavares and Nylander. That's where Nyes belongs. Give him a game with a creative center and get him the puck, and he's going to score. You know, he's been playing with Minton, who's just sort of feeling his way, and I don't know if that's beneficial to Minton or beneficial to Nyes. But
just to answer the chat room on Nickel City, it's nice that Robertson's doing really well. Nick Robertson, he needs to play like 50 games in the AHL to actually prove that he can play 50 games in any league at this point. He's been hurt way too much. You can't bring him up just because he's hot, because he might get hurt again. You need to see him. He's got to prove it for they never really kept him in the AHL long enough, and then he would get hurt. He's got to be there for a while, in my estimate.
Nick Robertson needs to prove that he can stay healthy.
Yeah,
I think he plays down there until probably December, and if he stays healthy and he scores goals, then
that's a different story.
Yeah, if he's got 20 goals by the All-Star break, then he's leaving nothing. Then he makes the decision easy. He gets called up, but he's got to prove that he can stay healthy, and he's motivated to do it. I think he wants to prove everybody wrong. The naysayers prove everybody wrong. Okay, we're not going to do a long show today, but I wanted to touch on this because I know that a lot of people have been looking at this ESPN top 100 list. And they got to say here, the list is top 100 player predictions. So basically, they're projecting forward. Otherwise, you couldn't rank Connor Bedard 88th in the league ahead of guys like Robert Thomas and Matthew Barzal if you weren't looking forward, because those guys are established and they're very good. But I mean, I have a couple things that I have a problem with. What I think is the most valuable position in the league is goaltender. It's constantly overlooked. I mean, we know that.
Can we start at the bottom first? Because I have some ones that I can get out easy right out of the hop, right? So Cole Caulfield, 85. Come on, man. If you're predicting, like you're not predicting great on that. I understand Besser where you're thinking maybe he stays hurt. Okay, fine. That's your Demko, 80. Come on. I mean, what are we talking about here? He's like a top 6 goalie. Matt Boldy, 77. Matt Boldy? Has he not shown anybody enough yet at the age of 22? So, those are some of the guys late that really caught my eye. Even Kyle Connor at 69. I don't know. This guy's scoring 40 goals a year. What's the list of 40-goal scorers? I'm going to look that up. You go.
Yeah, I mean, just going. I mean, my problem is that, like I said, the most valuable position in this league, I mean, next to center is goaltender. Yeah. And the highest ranked goaltender was Igor Shesterkin at number 25.
It's crazy.
Sorry, the top goaltender should probably be in the top 10.
Yeah.
Or at least top 12. But 25 is ridiculous. Now, they lump a whole bunch of goaltenders like Sorokin and Vasilevsky in the middle. But I just think that that's underrepresenting a very extremely valuable position. Like, there are players on here that I think projecting forward, like John Carlson had a lost year last year. He's had health problems the last couple of years. He's 33 years old. I don't think he should be on the list. I don't think he should be in the top 100. The thing that's raising the most stink, and especially in readers and pits, is Evgeny Malkin did not make the top 100. And people,
which is crazy.
He had a great year last year. He's a Hall of Famer. He's won 3 Stanley Cups. He stayed healthy last year. It would be one thing if this was before like 3 or 4 years where he's had like injuries and he's played half seasons or three-quarter seasons. He was healthy last year. So that one I don't get. But like, I won't cherry pick. I mean, I have a few issues with, ranking somebody like John Tavares 93. I think he's a little better than
Everybody. I mean, does salary matter here? Like, is this?
No.
I know, but it sounds like it does.
He was a point. I'm sorry. He's a point per game player last year as a second line center. It's absolutely nuts. But here's at the top of the list. And this is, everybody's going to think I'm Leaf-centric here. But, okay.
Yeah, Connor, by the way, Connor had 80 points. So he's almost a point-a-game player, 31 goals last year. So he dropped off, but he had 47 the year before. He's had 30s before. Like, he's a young player. Like, what are you doing?
You can't dispute McDavid is number one, of course.
No, I wouldn't even try.
I think that Makar is a top 5 player. They have him ranked second. You could say 2, you could say 3 or 4. I mean, you can't really quibble. So they have, Makar 2 and Nathan McKinnon 3. Fine. That I love Jack Hughes, his talent. I think he's a superstar. I think, he's a highlight reel. He's an unbelievable playmaker. He's a good goal scorer. In no universe do I rank Jack Hughes higher than Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews was 5th. Jack Hughes was 4th. I don't get it. I don't. Now, I think part of this is ESPN and, most of the writers and broadcasters. I don't know how many people, they said 50. They're probably mostly U.S. based. So, can you say that Canadian based players, got the short end of the stick? Well, no. Number one,
I'm not going to go there.
Number one was McDavid. He's in Edmonton, but then there's no denying. I mean, Leon Draisaitl was ranked 6th. I don't think any top 100 I've seen had Draisaitl as low as 6. Usually they have a 1-2 McDavid Draisaitl.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm looking, and I have a problem with Sorokin at 30. I've got a problem with Miro Heiskanen or Heiskanen, whichever it is, at 29. Yeah, I got a problem with Yossi at 27. Like,
how about 3 Colorado Avalanche players in the top 7, and they lost to an expansion team in the first round last year?
Yeah, I think what we have to look at here is, what are they valuing more? And clearly they're valuing offensive forwards over everything. And I have a problem with that because I still think there's a place for these pretty close to superstar defensemen like Makar and Fox. And I think that next tier of those guys have just gotten buried, like the Heiskanens and whatever. And I don't understand it. Just like I don't understand where Sorokin is, but I understand the superstar forward scoring guys. But after a while, like, there's a lot of top scoring guys in this league, but there's not a lot of great defensemen, and I think that's an issue. Like, Jake Ottinger shouldn't be 34. We all agree he's a top 10 goalie. Like, where would the Dallas Stars be without Jake Ottinger? Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, Sorokin is 30 and Shesterkin was 28 or 29, something like that. It's just they definitely undervalue the goaltenders.
I mean, Vasilevsky 57. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, please.
Come on.
I mean, So, but
Chris Letang is ahead of Vasilevsky. Does that make any sense?
Three Colorado players in the top 7.
No, but thinking about Letang's age and everything else.
Yeah, no. I mean, he had a good year. He had a stroke last year.
I mean, Erik Karlsson is. Did I even notice Erik Karlsson in this list?
He was in the 30s, I think. Let me see.
30s. Okay. Quinn Hughes is 60. Quinn Hughes. Okay. How do you have Chris Letang ahead of Quinn Hughes? You're predicting here. What are we predicting?
I don't know. Erik Karlsson, who scored 100 points and won the Norris, was 41.
I'm sorry. Okay.
We'll leave it. We'll leave it there. Okay. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. For Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thanks for watching, and remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.